Empress of Lycania. Previous episodes are available on the playlist. You can also visit our website for your favorite stories. A link is provided in the video description. Episode 3. The room seems to close in around us as we sit there, bound by grief and haunted by what could have been. The silence is suffocating, broken only by the sound of our shattered hearts. Kyson gently untangles the chain wrapped around the bear's throat, carefully pulling it out and revealing a gleaming crystal pendant. Holding the teddy bear in his hand, he places it delicately into my open palm. Instantly, a wave of sadness crashes over me, crushing my heart into a million shattered fragments once again. Kyson sweeps my hair to the side before kissing my neck and placing the chain around my neck. I lift the cerulean blue stone closer to my eyes, its vibrant hue captivating me in its ethereal glow. "Same color as your eyes," Kyson whispers, as he does up the clasp. I had some of her ashes placed inside, so she would always be with us. Wherever we went, she would always be a part of us. I wanted to give it to you when I brought her home, but I didn't want to upset you, Kyson murmurs as I brush my thumb over the face of the teddy. I nod because it is all I can do, words failing me. I can feel his heartache as if he screams it out at our loss. "I won't fail you again. So if you want to go home, I will take you." "I'm sorry I yelled at you. You have no idea how hard it is to believe one thing for years, only to find out I was chasing a ghost all that time," Kyson whispers while tugging me closer. Kyson buries his face in my neck and nips at my jaw. Tears prick at the corners of my eyes, mirroring the ache within his soul. "She didn't do it," I whisper. "I'm starting to believe you are right. I believe I have spent the last decade chasing a phantom," Kyson says. "But if I am right, Kyson, that means someone on your guard or staff did it," I tell him, and he nods against my shoulder. "And if you are wrong?" he asks in return. "Then I will drop it. But I need to be sure. I know Marissa could have panicked and did it. I am not ruling that out, but with the evidence, it doesn't make sense why she would wait so long. Because she wasn't in the castle. She was a gardener and a stable hand before that. She had no access to my sister or me for the first 2 years, Kyson says, and I chew my lip. Now I am questioning everything again, yet the pull to find answers is more vital than ever. But how did Marissa tie into everything? Because if she was part of it, why would she sacrifice herself to save me? I turn on his lap, so I can face him, and Kyson grips my face in his hands when I stare down at the small urn in my hands. "Thank you," I whisper when he tilts my face back up to his. He lets out a breath before pressing his forehead against mine. "All is not lost as long as we have each other," he says, pressing his lips to my forehead. "Come on. We should make arrangements to leave and prepare for the council. I have no doubt that they will be on our doorstep soon. I want to be prepared for when they get here. I don't want to be surprised again," Kyson tells me. "And what of Larkin? Will Damien be punished?" "No, because I am going to show you how to use that voice of yours." "How?" "They have your blood in their system." "And what? I just command them to accept that Tandy is to remain here and for him to forget his son?" I ask. "Well, first you learn how to command me, then once you have mastered that, you show the council who the ruling family is." who you are, Kyson tells me. You're going to let me command you. I laugh, trying to picture him kissing my feet or quacking like a duck. Well, when you say it like that, I am not so sure whether I want you commanding me, he laughs. I think I like the sound of making you my page, I laugh, and he growls, snapping and gnashing his teeth at me. We'll see, but first, I want to shower. Then I need to feed you. In case you are right, I don't want you accepting help from any one of my guard, only Trey and the Landina guard, Damien, Liam or me. And Abby? Though out of all those names, I'm surprised that Liam, your most unhinged guard, is on it. Yes, and Abby, just until we know who can be trusted, and Liam can be trusted. That much I do know because no one loved Claire more than Liam, Kyson says, and I not knowing that, but I am surprised he would trust Liam over Dustin when he stands abruptly and his words register. Liam loved Claire. Claire was the only woman he loved. Her death broke him, he's always been crazy, but her death broke something in that man. He was her guard and lover. Wait, what do you mean? I ask hesitantly, unsure if I can take more pieces to this puzzle. Another time, that is not a memory you ask him about either, Azzy, promise. If he wants you to know, he'd tell you, but there is a reason we tolerate Liam's craziness, Kyson adds, and I drop the subject, knowing some things aren't any of my business. I clutch him tighter, wrapping my legs around his waist and gripping his shoulder with my free hand. Come, my queen. We have a kingdom to raise from the dead. And a council to burn the ground, I tell him, and he growls. Azalea, for the first time in ages, I wake up feeling wide awake. My mind is running 1,000,000 miles a minute. Kyson is asleep beside me, his breath moving across the back of my neck, where his face is buried in my hair. The room is still a little dark, though, despite some light filtering through the drapes from the rising sun. It must be quite early, as I don't hear any workers or movement about the castle. Moving under the blankets, Kyson's heavy arm draped over my waist tucks me closer, rolling me over to face him. Where are you sneaking off to? He purrs with closed eyes. He snuggles closer. Nowhere. I just woke, I tell him, and he yawns, nodding his head before kissing my collarbone. I don't want to get up yet, he mumbles before skimming his nose across the column of my throat and forcing me to tilt my head back as he scented my skin, his whiskers tickling as he nips at my neck. His calling slips out as he kisses and sucks the skin. Kyson, we have things to do today, I tell him, and he nips at my jaw. The only thing I want to do is you, he says, and I roll my eyes, and he rubs his stubble across my skin, making me cringe. I thought you were going to teach me to command you, I ask him, and he hums before moving and pushing me back onto the bed and looming over me. He presses his knees between my thighs before climbing between them and settling his weight above me. Command me to stop then, he laughs before nibbling my lips, and I chuckle at his playfulness. It reminds me of when I first met him. It also makes me realize how much I miss that person. So much has happened since then, life has become more intense, more serious. We had both changed. Our relationship had changed. It seemed so long ago and so much simpler back then. You're meant to be commanding me, he growls, nipping my lips before kissing me. My lips tingle as the bond flares to life. No, he purrs, nibbling on my bottom lip before his tongue pushes between them. His scent overwhelms me, and I kiss him back. Our tongues tangle as he fights for dominance, tasting every inch of my mouth. You're meant to be commanding me, Azzy, he laughs against my lips, making me realize I am getting carried away by the feelings he is invoking. Stop, I laugh as he attacks my neck with his lips, his stubble tickling. Real convincing, he chuckles while moving lower before growling when the shirt I am wearing gets in the way of his traveling lips. Kyson rocks his hips against me, his hand moving down my side to grip the hem of my shirt. He pushes it up, his hands leaving goosebumps along my flesh as he pushes the shirt up, and I sit up a little, letting him peel it off. I grip his hair, tugging his head back. Stop! I command, and his eyes flash black, and I smile as my command comes out, thinking it worked when he smirks. Make me, he purrs, and I huff. Why doesn't it work on you? I growl, knowing I used it. Because you don't want to hurt me for one. Also because you don't really want me to stop, he laughs, biting down on the hardened bud. You have to mean it, you know. I hiss and grip his hair, jerking his head back. That hurt. I growl at him, and he gnashes his teeth at me before pecking my lips, and my lips part as I kiss him back before biting his lip hard. He growls, jerking back. See hurts, I chuckle before sitting up on my elbows. He watches me pulling away briefly before sighing when I run my tongue across his bottom lip, sealing the bite mark the first left when he laughs, gripping the back of my neck. He kissed me harder, deeper. His tongue invades my mouth and steals my breath before he shoves me back on the bed. I glare at him for teasing me. Ah, what are you doing? I didn't say stop, I whine at him, and in return, he gives me a smile before leaning down and breathing his warm breath against my lower lips. He smiles before sucking the inside of my thigh, and my hips bump against his face. Kyson! I growl, and he laughs before dipping his face between my legs only to let his warm breath tickle my skin. I sit up on my elbows and glare down at him. Kyson, I swear to God, if you leave me like this, I will, order me, he growls, running his tongue over my lower lips again, and I drop back onto the bed only for him to stop and his words finally register. My face heats up, I wouldn't demand such a thing. Kyson chuckles before lifting my legs over his shoulders and dragging me closer, yet his lips tease my thighs and everywhere else but where I want his mouth. Kyson! I snarl. Yes, my queen, he laughs, I get lost in the feeling, only for him to stop once again. My eyes open, and I can feel his amusement at my frustration. I growl in annoyance, staring at the ceiling. Kyson! Yes? What is it? He purrs, blowing on my heated flesh. You know what? I don't think I do, he laughs. I clamp my knees on either side of his head. He laughs, gripping my knees and pulling my legs apart. You could always command me, he says, but I don't think I can speak such vulgar words. It is one thing wanting something, another demanding it. No, I whine, mortified when I glance down at him. His eyes glaze over when someone goes to open the door. My heart lurches in my chest, knowing what they would see, and I squirm, yet Kyson held my thighs and my eyes widened in horror. Does he not hear the door? Shut the door! I command in a panic. No way did I want to get caught in this position. That wasn't so hard, was it? Kyson chuckles, and I glare at him. Who was that? I demand. Dustin. Though you probably would have scarred him for life if he walked in, good thing you commanded him, Kyson chuckles, and I glare at him, but he smiles before looking down between my legs. What to do, he purrs, gripping my thighs and pulling my legs further apart. Eat it, is what? I snap at him, my annoyance and desire intermingling. Someone is cranky when she doesn't get her way. Though love, I would be more careful when throwing words out like that. What if I bit you or actually ate it, he says, and my eyes widen in horror. He's right. Thank God I didn't actually command that one. Well, there is one way to kill the mood, I tell him when his calling slips out with the force of a freight train, making my hips buck against his face. I moan as he awakens the bond, forcing it back and amplifying my desire tenfold. Kyson, I whine, my voice a breathy moan when he still does nothing but uses his calling on me. He chuckles before his tongue returns to his teasing and draws me closer, only to stop again. I grip his hair, move his head back. Don't stop. I growl at him, feeling my aura slip out, and he smirks before I let him go, and my eyes open. Wait, I just commanded him. Azalea, stop. Stop. Stop, I plead, unable to take any more. I want to go back to sleep. Kyson, stop. I moan, clenching my eyes shut, and he does, and I let out a breath. That is why I said be careful with your words, though I would have happily stayed down there forever, he snickers, kissing my sensitive skin. I lie back on the bed, and Kyson crawls up the bed towards me. He hovers above me for a second, dipping his head and kissing me. He forces his tongue into my mouth, making me taste myself on his lips. My skin comes alive, and I want more. I see the burning desire that is flaring up in them. I see how much Kyson wants me and wonder if he can see how much I want him in return. The soft way that his lips touch me makes me shudder and long for more. Yet fear also lingers, although I know I have nothing to fear with Kyson. It starts with a kiss. Then another, leaving me breathless, when he pulls back and looks down at me. What's wrong? He asks, but I shake my head. Nothing. It's silly. Yet the last time we had sex, it led to a baby. A baby we lost. Kyson kisses me gently, and I watch him sit up on his elbows and he sighs. Azalea, he murmurs, and I know he can feel my indecision through the bond, and my hands tremble as I try to push his shorts down, knowing he wants this, which only makes me feel guilty that I even thought to deny him. I know what to expect, yet his hand grips mine, stopping me. No. Not unless you tell me why your mood changed, he says. It's fine, I reply, hearing how small my voice sounds. I want you to be sure, he says, cupping my face in his hand. I'm sure, I lie. And I don't believe you, he growls, leaning down and nipping at my lips and making me hiss. He looms over and stares at me, concern etched into his face. He watches me and then looks down his body. As the bond flares wildly, feeling his body pressing against mine. It is frightening to have my body control me like this, but there is something very freeing about it, too. He kisses my cheek, though now he is far more attentive to how I am feeling. We don't have to, Azzy, he whispers softly, feeling my worry, but he has it wrong. I am not worried about having sex with him. I am concerned about getting pregnant. I know I am not ready for that again. No, I want to, I tell him, pulling my lip between my teeth. Not knowing how to say to him I don't want to risk falling pregnant again. You don't want me to, not you, he says. My face heats, and I glance away but also nod. However, Kyson doesn't seem mad. The feeling through the bond is understanding. We can use protection, or we can wait. It's up to you, Kyson says, kissing my cheek. I nod, surprised a little by how gentle and understanding he is being. He rocks his hips against me, and I gasp. Gosh, how I want him, and I can feel he needs this, needs some connection. My hand moves to his hip, and I push down on the waistband of his pants. Azzy, he purrs. We can use protection, I tell him, and he smiles playfully, his eyes flashing black with excitement. Really? I nod, biting my lip. He pecks my lips before moving them and reaching into the drawer beside the bed. I watch he use protection. I wrap my arms around his neck, tugging him closer so I can kiss him, and he obliges, smiling against my lips as he kisses me back. Every little movement that he makes sends shudders of pleasure through me. My body has never felt that before, and it is overwhelming. I relax and let my body take the lead, kissing his chest, Kyson knowing what I want. Euphoria washes over me, and a calmness at his tenderness. Every little increase, my body shudders with pleasure as I give myself over to my senses, giving myself over to him. I see stars and moan as the waves continue. My body is alive in a way it hadn't been before. I love you, Kyson whispers, kissing my temple as his fingers trail up my side. I love you too, I tell him while turning my face and kissing his chest. For once, it seems we are in the same place, not separated by command or tension or either of us fighting our bond. We are both present and enjoying each other's embrace instead of being at war and ruled by angered emotion. Azalea, as the nothingness creeps through me, I surrender myself to the oblivion of sleep. Little do I expect to wake up in a different reality, or perhaps a nightmare. The air feels off, surreal and out of place, as if I've been transported to another world. Confusion envelopes me as I struggle to make sense of my surroundings. I find myself placed down on something soft, my body sinking into the comfort beneath me, as a woman walks away, her lavender-colored robe trailing behind her like an ethereal veil. With dark hair braided down her back, she stands by the door, peering out through the crack. At first, it feels like I'm trapped in a dream, a haunting vision of losing my child. The room is dimly lit, casting shadows on the walls with its orange hues. It takes a moment for my eyes to adjust, and as they do, I realize that I am in what appears to be a nursery. Soft beige and pink colors adorn the crib I am sitting in, while the distant cries of people echo through the darkness of the corridor. The room itself is adorned with breathtaking scenes of sloping mountains covered in snow and skies as blue as sapphires. Forests fill the walls with their lush greenery, creating a sense of serenity amidst the chaos outside. But the chaos is undeniable, as loud noises reverberate from beyond the door, causing me to clutch my ears and scream in response. And then it hits me, this place feels familiar because it is none other than Landina Castle, my home. This is not a nightmare, it is a memory, one that I find myself trapped in. The banging outside grows louder, causing the woman to rush back into the room and hastily shut the door. My screams mingle with the silence that follows as the banging stops in the corridor. The woman turns, her back pressed against the door, her arms bracing against the wall. In her eyes, I see the fear of a mother, my mother, Queen Tatiana. "Tatty, it's me. Open up," a voice I've grown up with calls out from outside. My mother steps aside, allowing the woman to enter. She bursts into the room, brandishing a sword in her hand. "We are under attack." "Garrett, where is Garrett?" the woman, Marissa, asks, clutching my mother's arms. "I don't know. He was in bed. I heard her wake up and came to check, then as I was leaving I heard gunfire," my mother explains, her gaze shifting to me. Marissa's eyes also flicker towards me before she rushes to the wardrobe, grabbing blankets and revealing her blood-stained maid's uniform. She thrusts a pink blanket into my mother's hands. "Go. Take her out the window. I will find Garrett," Marissa instructs, her voice filled with urgency. "I can't leave you," my mother protests, but Marissa shakes her head, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You need to run," Marissa insists, attempting to pass me off to my mother. But my mother backs away from me. "Who are they?" my mother asks her, and Marissa shakes her head. "You need to run," Marissa tells her, but my mother shakes her head and grits her teeth. "Who are they, Marissa?" Marissa whimpers and tears flood down her cheeks. My tiny hands wipe her face before patting her cheek. "Mama, don't cry," I tell her. She smiles sadly at me when I realize something. My mother knew I called Marissa Mama, but Tatiana, my true mother, was Mummy. "Marissa, answer me. Have they come for us?" my mother asks, and Marissa sniffles. "You need to run," Marissa insists, attempting to pass me off to my mother. But my mother backs away from me. "They don't know she exists. If I run, they will hunt me and find her." "Go, I will hold them off," my mother declares with determination. "Tatty, no!" Marissa cries out, grabbing hold of my mother's robe as she tries to flee. Yet my mother spins swiftly, grabbing Marissa's face in both her hands, her eyes blazing a storm, and I can sense her aura even in this dream state, wild, furious and explosive. "Take her to the Valkyrie kingdom. If it is safe, give her to her mate," my mother commands before rushing out of the door. But just before she disappears completely, she turns back and stops, casting a forlorn look in my direction. "Keep her safe. Tatty, no!" Marissa pleads. "Keep her safe," my mother says, and Marissa jolts as my mother's command rolls over her once again. "Don't you fight it. You owe me this much," my mother says, and Marissa shakes her head. Tears stream down her face and she halts in her efforts to stop my mother. "What about Trey? Our sire bonds?" Marissa asks, and my mother freezes. She looks over her shoulder and smiles sadly. You're both sired to her, your bonds will break, but her tether to you will keep you alive. Trey will look for you. He will find her, you make sure you keep her alive until then, my mother says. What are you going to do? Marissa asked her. I need to get to Garrett and the Eclipsarian, my mother answers just as her aura erupts with power. It's as though the very room around us starts to shake. You'll never make it, Tatty, Marissa pleads, a violent desperation in her voice. I have to try, but if I don't, the ballerina is the key, she tells Marissa, still emanating that incredible power. Suddenly, I can feel the vibrations in the floor beneath my feet, see the cracks forming in the walls as if they were made of porcelain, and hear the rumble of thunder as her magic explodes from within her. Her aura pulsates around her like a living thing, wild and untamed, crackling with energy that seems to dance across her skin. With one swift motion, she pulls out a hairpin from her hair, letting it cascade down past her shoulders in a waterfall of silk. The hairpin doesn't stop there though, it transforms into something marvelous, vines that wrap tightly around her wrist before elongating into the thinnest sword I've ever seen. The air fills with the metallic scent of bloodlust as my mother opens the door to the corridor, as Marissa's face pales beneath my mother's commanding gaze. In one swift movement, my mother grabs Marissa, draws me close and kisses my forehead gently. Now run, she whispers fiercely to Marissa. Then she pulls away swiftly, leaving us alone with only her words echoing in our ears. The door crashes against the wall behind her as she disappears into the chaos without a trace. The room shakes with every step she takes, like an earthquake is about to hit us any second. Mummy! Mummy! I scream, watching her leave me when Marissa hushes me, trying to quiet my cries for my mother. She sets me back down in my crib. Marissa grabs a small bag of items and quickly stuffed them into the bag before tying it around her shoulder before tossing the window open. As she does, the door bursts open and a hunter rushes in. Marissa and him square off when she dives for her sword, and slashes through the air. The sword bites into the man's shoulder and he falls to the ground before she brings the sword down again, spraying the room in blood. When she is done, she drops the sword before rushing over to me where I stood clutching the railing of my crib screaming. Hush, Ivy! Hush, she murmurs, and I quiet down watching as she goes to the window before cursing and slamming it shut. She looks around nervously before looking at the man on the floor. She quickly rushes over, shutting the door before ripping at his clothes and pulling them on, before she tugs my nightie off before putting new clothes on me and wrapping my tiny body in a blanket. Mama, where is Mummy? I whine. My little hands shake as I grip her shoulders. She went to get Daddy, my love. She'll be okay. Daddy is strong. Daddy will protect her, she whispers, her lips pressing a tender kiss against my cheek. With caution, she opens the door, peering out into the blood-stained hallway strewn with lifeless bodies, a haunting testament to the brutality that has unfolded. Close your eyes, my princess, and cover your ears, she instructs in a hushed tone, her voice tinged with an undercurrent of urgency. I obediently nod, burying my face in the crook of her neck and pressing my hands firmly over my ears. Darkness engulfs me, muffling the sounds of my own sobs as I cling desperately to the hope that this nightmare will soon fade away. But the anguished screams that reverberate through the castle halls only intensify when Marissa starts running. She dashes forward, her shoes screeching against the polished tiles, causing me to bounce in her arms. With trepidation, I open my eyes and peer over her shoulder as she deftly turns a corner, only to come to an abrupt halt once more. Men emerge from behind her, their sinister intentions evident in their menacing gazes. Simultaneously, more men appear at the other end of the corridor, closing in on us from both directions. In a desperate attempt to outmaneuver our pursuers, Marissa twists and turns, her body contorting looking for an escape. With unwavering determination etched across her features, she makes a split-second decision and leaps off the balcony, clutching me tightly against her chest. The impact jars the breath from her lungs and a cry escapes her lips before she quickly regains her composure. For a few heart-stopping moments, she struggles to rise, clutching onto anything within reach to steady herself. Her eyes scan the chaos unfolding below us as men clash in a brutal display of violence and death. And then, with a fierce resolve, she turns her attention elsewhere. "I need you to be absolutely silent, my darling," she implores, her voice threaded with urgency. I nod in understanding, my wide-eyed gaze locked onto hers with unwavering trust. With a swift movement, she locates a hidden laundry chute within the wall. Without hesitation, she stuffs me inside, cocooning me in darkness and safety as she prepares to face the horrors that lie ahead. "Close your eyes, Ivy, hands over your ears. Mama will be back," she says before shutting the door. I stare into the darkness of the laundry chute before hearing Marissa's voice. "Cedric, it's not what you think. Listen to me," Marissa pleaded. "You killed the queen." "My queen," he roars. "No. Listen to me," Marissa says, and I clench my eyes shut when I hear the fighting begin. The snarls and growls are horrendous. Time slips by, I don't know how long passes, but the noises grow louder, the screams more tortured when finally the door opens and Marissa is reaching in for me. My heart lurched in my chest and my breathing sounded loud to my ears. Marissa was covered in blood, even her face, and I backed away into the corner scared of her. "Come on, it's me," she coaxes. "Kyson, I question everything, absolutely everything, except one thing. She is not broken. No, my queen is resilient, maybe more so than me. She wears her trauma like jeweled armor and camouflage, yet I see her. See her determination and strength, and at first I thought that would be our downfall. Yet watching her as she sleeps, I realize how wrong I am. I am so used to being the Alpha King, yet with her I can be Kyson and nothing more, and she would have me. Even after what I put her through. No matter how many times I tore her down wanting her to submit to the bond, and to me, she came back more determined to prove I couldn't break her. She has more scars than men of war and she wears them as if they are jewels of her mercy, which is something I saw as weak. Even now, it angers me that she can forgive Esther and her son, that she can set them free despite what they took from us. Despite how they nearly killed her and us. Azalea is able to forgive the unforgivable and remain pure of heart despite hers being broken repeatedly, so harshly I'm surprised it still beats. My queen saw past her anger and chose forgiveness and understanding while I only craved blood and revenge. Yet looking at her now, I realize it doesn't make her weak, it makes her strong because it shows her capacity to forgive and keep going while I have been stuck in a past I no longer want part of. Seeking vengeance, yet seeking that, I became as lost as the dead, stumbling blindly in an abyss and living in limbo. It's me who's weak here, not Azalea. It was never about setting them free, she set a piece of herself that was broken free to allowing herself to move on from the torture, showing them she isn't a monster like them. She isn't a jealous, vengeful, cold-hearted killer. No, she is far more than that. She is a queen. And a queen is someone who puts her own desires and wants behind her to protect her people. Despite them almost ruining her, she saved them because they are her people. Esther is a mother, and having had her own child ripped from her, she wouldn't wish that pain on anyone, not even her enemy. Azalea breaks, then picks herself back up and keeps going. I guess that is one thing I can thank Mrs. Daly for. She made my queen indestructible, and I am beginning to realize I don't need to covet her away to keep her safe. What I need is to unleash her, stand beside her, and watch as she brings our enemies to their knees. And she will, for she is a Landina, she is the Empress of Lycania. She's my biggest contender, she's also my redemption, and she's mine to cherish. I brush back Azalea's hair as she sleeps. A whimper escapes from her lips and a tear slips down her cheek. Hush, my love, I whisper tenderly, brushing a gentle finger against her cheek as I marvel at her grace as she sleeps. Curiosity tugs at my mind, wondering what dreams plague her subconscious. What fears haunt her even in sleep? Does she not realize that I would willingly lay down my life for her without a second thought? That I would protect her at any cost? As Azalea stirs restlessly, her heart rate quickening, her fingers digging into my ribs where she seeks the bond, I can't help but feel a pang of concern. Leaning closer, I press my lips against hers in a feather-light kiss, smoothing her tousled hair with gentle fingertips. Just as I am about to rouse her from the clutches of her nightmare, she gasps, clutching her chest and frantically scanning the room. My gaze follows hers, searching for the invisible enemy that seems to torment her. Her claws extend and a low growl reverberates through her as I pull her closer, cradling her against my chest. She is still trapped within the confines of her dream, not fully awake. Allowing my calling to seep into our bond, I urge her to wake. And she melts against me, finding relief in the safety of my embrace. What is it, my love? What has frightened you? I purr softly, my voice laced with the desire to calm her as she sobs in my arms. She didn't do it, she whispers, and a wave of relief floods our bond alongside profound sadness. With heavy breaths filling the room around us, I listen intently as she continues speaking. She didn't, Kyson. I saw it clearly. She didn't do it. You have to believe me, she pleads, attempting to free herself from my grasp and sit upright. Gently cupping her face in my hands, I meet her gaze. I believe you, my love. I believe that you believe your words. We will find a way to uncover the truth. Drawing her closer once more, I hold her tight against my chest, offering reassurance amidst the storm of emotions that threatens to engulf us. I can prove it. Cedric was there. I heard him, she reveals, her voice filled with a mixture of grief and vulnerability. My brow furrows in confusion. Cedric? Why is she dreaming about him? Heard what? I ask, needing clarity from the tangle of her nightmares. I heard Cedric. She was trying to tell him something. I remembered. I remembered that night, she confesses, her voice cracking. It's okay. It's okay, I murmur soothingly, my fingertips gently wiping away the traces of tears that stain her cheeks. But before we can delve deeper into the revelation, the door bursts open, causing both of us to startle. Azalea jolts upright, her eyes wide while I slide her off me and rise to my feet, a growl rumbling forth at the intrusion. It is unlike Dustin to barge in without permission, and his presence only adds to the tension that hangs in the air. "My king," Dustin begins urgently, his voice laced with urgency, "Elder Larkin has arrived. He demands the return of his son." Anger simmers within Azalea, palpable even as she hastily wipes away tears and stands up, dream-induced fury fueling resolve. Oblivious to lack of clothing, she storms towards the door, leaving poor Dustin momentarily stunned as he averts gaze, eyes fixed on ceiling. "Azzy, my love," I call out to her, drawing her attention as she glances back over shoulder. "You need to put on some clothes before you confront him. I won't allow you to face Larkin in such a state unless you want me to remove his eyes from his sockets." I chuckle softly, a hint of amusement coloring my voice. She looks down, realization dawning upon her as eyes widen, and with a hurried squeak, she rushes towards the closet. I can't help but laugh softly at her flustered state, reaching for my pants as she calls out to Dustin. "Dustin!" "Yes, Azalea," he responds promptly, his eyes still on the ceiling. "Have someone find Cedric while we deal with Larkin," she commands, determination shining through her words. Dustin glances at me for confirmation, and I nod in agreement. "You heard your queen," I tell him, a smile tugging at the corners of my lips before he hurries off to carry out orders. "Azalea, it takes me only a few minutes to dress before following Kyson out of our bedroom and down the stairs. Our ears are alerted to the commotion as soon as we enter the corridor on the bottom floor of the castle. I know what Kyson is going to say before he says it. I'm prepared for his words as I hear him growl furiously. A sigh escapes my lips as Kyson stops in front of me. "You want me to wait here until you see what is going on?" I tell him before I exhale. I hear a loud bang from the end of the corridor to the main doors as voices from the end of the corridor begin to grow louder. When Kyson glances over his shoulder, I recognize one of the angry voices instantly as Damien, who can be heard shouting in frustration. "Just let me go ahead, you can," he growls before letting out a big sigh. "You can come with me, but stay back with Dustin until I know it is safe." "Please," he says, almost pleading with me. It is not until I look past him to the doors that I see guards rushing out of those doors. When I nod my head, he lets out a sigh and grabs my face in his hands, kissing the top of my head as he lets out a breath. "I'm trying not to be controlling. I just don't want to put you in unnecessary danger," Kyson whispers as he lets me go and turns on his heel, stalking toward the main doors. He snarls, stalking after the guards rushing out the doors. As they flatten themselves against the walls to get out of his way, I watch him slip outside, and I turn to Dustin, who twists his arm and extends it to me. "You did the right thing. I know technically you overrule him, but you have powers that are only just awakening, and you aren't sure how to use them yet," Dustin tells me, and I sigh heavily. Kyson has been ruling for decades. He is a good king, and you can learn a lot from him, if you pay attention. I know you are done being a pushover, that much is apparent, but he is your mate and a king, Dustin reminds me. However, I am done arguing with Kyson. We will be fine if he sticks to his word and gives me the same trust I give him. I know, and I don't want to overrule him. I rather have him in charge because I don't know what I am doing, but I don't want to be shut out either. I can't learn if he doesn't let me, I tell Dustin. He is trying, Dustin says, and I nod in agreement, and so am I. And that is why I agreed. It would be foolish if I ran through those doors and into an ambush, I tell him, and Dustin smiles. I am so glad to finally have Dustin back by my side. Gosh, how I have missed him. I sent Liam to get Cedric for you, Dustin tells me, and the arguing outside goes quiet when I hear a feral growl tear out of my mate, his aura rippling through the air, almost vibrating with his fury. Kyson. I mind Link, not wanting to step out there without letting him know. You can come out. He is alone, he replies, and Dustin and I step outside the doors. Larkin is at the king's feet. His lip is bleeding, his clothes all wrinkled, and a cut below his left eye is healing, and his face is swollen. In addition, Damien has a split eyebrow, and it can be seen by the marks on his uniform that they had had a scuffle before. The only thing I want to do is see my son. You can't just take him. Larkin snarls at Damien. No. You don't deserve him. And you aren't going near my mate, Damien snaps at him. He's my son. I'm a good father, Larkin growls, and Damien steps toward him. When Kyson raises his hand, Damien stops, and his fist clenches tight by his sides. Stand down. You, shut up, Kyson snaps at him as Larkin sits up, leaning against his car tire. My brows furrow when Kyson turns to Dustin behind me. Aren't you supposed to be getting Cedric? I sent Liam, he says just as Trey comes out the door and steps in front of me, his shoulder brushing mine. I feel Kyson relax a little more with Trey nearby with Dustin. Though jealousy courses through Kyson as Trey brushes against me. Dustin, go get Tandy, Kyson orders. What? No. Definitely not. Damien snaps. Yes, get Tandy. She will tell you I am a good father. I would never hurt my son, Larkin snarls. Damien. I want to sort this out, Kyson tells Damien before glaring at Larkin, and you will cooperate. Larkin, Tandy had some fascinating information about the council cooperating with the hunters. Kyson snaps at him, yet Larkin genuinely looks confused by Kyson's words. Hunters? The council has never worked with the hunters, Larkin states smugly. I hate them more than anyone. You should know this, Kyson. They wiped out my home kingdom. Killed my parents. No way am I working with putrid hunters, he snarls, the words leaving his lips venomously. He looks outraged by the accusation. Kyson looks at me, and I watch Larkin for a second, whose gaze settles on me. Larkin bares his neck to me. Sorry, my queen. I never wished to disturb you, he says, dropping his gaze to the ground. Which was your home kingdom? I ask him, curious and also trying to break the strange tension. I hated the man, but I would not solely base his character on past behaviors. He isn't the ringleader, that much is obvious. Or maybe I am being naive and too complacent. Kyson would let me know his thoughts or, no doubt, step in if he believes he needs to refute anything. Azalea, the Credence Kingdom, my queen. It was one of the first to fall. I know my brother did some despicable things, but had we known who you were, we never would have come here. Landinas have immunity. The council knows this, but honestly, we thought besides Elder Crux, none existed. They are the creators of Lycan law. We live by that law, he says when I hear footsteps coming up behind us. Apparently, live by that law. The council has some serious allegations against them, especially how the council could be behind the rogue murders or the murder of Tandy's daughter, Damien snarls. Rogue murders? An Alpha Brock took his daughter, Larkin says. I am not Alpha Brock, he adds, though it is clear he thinks very little of the Alpha. He drowned her when he tossed her off the cliff. Tandy saw him do it. She said she heard the splash, and Crux just stood there and let him, Damien snarls. No, no, the council wouldn't kill children, Larkin defends his eyes, going to the doors behind us. Dustin emerges first through the huge castle doors before Tandy steps out, tears streaking down her face as she clutches her son. Larkin tries to get to his feet in a blur of motion. Defensively, Damien charges at him, only for Larkin to stop just before Tandy. To everyone's surprise, Larkin doesn't snatch his son. He merely holds his hands out for him. The toddler babbles, fisting the air. You're not taking him, Larkin. I won't lose another child, Tandy snarls, pulling her son away, and for the first time, I witness her step behind her mate, relying on him to protect her. And Damien has no such qualms about doing so. You left abruptly. I told you I would never take him from you. I am not that Alpha, he pleads, and I truly believe I am seeing a different side of this ruthless man. He makes cooing noises at his son, smiling brightly at him and holding his hands out to him. It's clear he's fond of the boy. Damien shoves him back, and Larkin snarls but stops when his eyes go to his son. Tandy, please, tell them. I have been good to you, haven't I? Larkin says, staring at her. Good to her? She lives in a whorehouse. Damien growls at him. I tried to get her out. Crux wouldn't allow it, said it would taint the council. Do you think I wanted my son there? I couldn't rip him out of her arms either, Larkin bellows at him, causing Hunter to start wailing at the sound of the fighting. Hey, Bubba boy, Daddy didn't mean to yell, Larkin says, and Kyson rubs his temples. Tandy sniffles, her eyes bloodshot from crying, and her nose is red. She clutches her son, but it is clear he wants to go to his father. Reluctantly, she looks at me. You won't let him take my boy? Tandy asks me. Never. And if he tries, he won't leave here alive, I tell her, have to reassure her and have to warn Larkin. He nods, and Tandy hands him over, kissing his cheek. Kyson sighs, yet it is the longing through the bond that has me look at Kyson beside me to find him watching Larkin cuddle and kiss his son. I grab his hand and give it a squeeze, and he returns it, shaking his head and clearing his throat. It is much too cold out here for a baby. Dustin, take Hunter to Abbey to look after or ask Clarice. Tandy, Larkin, Damien, my office now, Kyson says, leaving no room for argument. Dustin moves to take the baby, but Larkin pulls away. You'll let me see him again, he asks, almost pleading with Kyson. Kyson looks at Damien, which makes Larkin turn his gaze toward Damien. I mean her no harm. I just don't want to be cut out of my son's life, Larkin tells him while Hunter smacks his father's face, trying to get his attention. Depending on what information you're willing to give, I will think about it. But if I believe you are a threat to my mate or your son. Dustin takes the boy, and Damien steps closer to him. It won't be Gannon and Liam you'll fear, Larkin. Elder or not, you'll wish they were the ones to kill you, Damien sneers, and I see Larkin swallow. I am a little shocked how much fear Gannon and Liam's names instilled, but the look on Larkin's face as he stares at Damien has him turn white as a sheet, and he nods quickly. I just want to see my son. I am not a monster, Larkin says. We'll see, Damien says before reaching for Tandy. Damien tucks her closer, under his arm, and walks inside with her. Larkin looks as if he wants to say something but must have decided against it because he closes his mouth and follows obediently. I raise an eyebrow at this entire fiasco, yet maybe we will get some answers. I know Tandy is telling the truth. She has no reason to lie. Larkin, though, looks confused by the allegations against him and the other council elders. Come on, let's sort this mess out and then speak with Cedric when Liam brings him, Kyson says. How will we know if he is telling the truth? Can I? I look to Kyson, wanting permission to command him. Either way, I would. It would just be better if we are on the same side when I do. You can, and I will help you, Kyson murmurs, and I feel myself relax, knowing we will at least for sure know the truth. Hopefully, I have faith that Kyson can indeed help me if it is required. We follow them through the halls toward the office while Dustin disappears up the stairs with Hunter. Liam found Cedric and is on his way back to the castle with him, Kyson tells me as we reach the door to his office, which is open. Larkin glances around nervously while Tandy moves toward the chaise by the window. Damien pulls a chair out before pointing at it. Sit. Damien tells him. Larkin presses his lips in a line yet obeys. Azalea Larkin seems to relax a little once everyone is seated, though Damien lingers behind him and remains standing, keeping himself between Larkin and Tandy. I move to sit beside Larkin in the spare chair when Kyson growls, and I fight the urge to roll my eyes but move to sit in a chair off the other side of his desk by the bookcases. Kyson reaches over and drags it beside him, and I sigh. At least he didn't want me sitting on his lap. That always feels awkward in the presence of other people. Larkin smooths his suit out best he can and undoes his cufflinks. So, you're from the Credence Kingdom? I ask him, taking my seat. Kyson drapes his arm over the back of it, his fingers fiddling with my hair. Yes, elders used to comprise a member of every kingdom, except the human one, of course. They are long dead, Larkin answers. My mother's kingdom. I ask when the door opens, and Liam and Cedric walk in. Cedric, with an armful of old leather-bound books, takes in the scene in front of him, moving into the room while glaring at Larkin, sensing the obvious tension in the room. Trey and Liam walk back out when they see there are no chairs, dragging in two from the corridor before closing the door behind them. Thank God Kyson's office is huge because there are so many of us here. No. Queen Tatiana was from Azure, Larkin says, and I nod. I meant my other mother, Marissa, I tell him as Cedric drags a chair from beside Larkin and sits down, placing the books on the edge of the desk. Marissa, I'm not sure. I know she was part of the hunters, Larkin answers, turning his head to look at Kyson. She was King Garrett's mate. We found out recently, and Garrett kept her on the side like Tatiana kept Trey, who was the Queen's mate. Garrett turned Marissa, Kyson clarifies for him, and Larkin genuinely looks confused by that information. He glances at Trey, who neither agrees nor denies. He just glares daggers at Larkin. I didn't know any of that. Queen Tatiana and King Garrett were very secretive people and paranoid. The only person allowed in from the council was Crux since he was Garrett's nephew. Larkin states. That is true, and half the kingdom didn't even know of your existence, my queen. Only those inside the castle walls did, Cedric says. I cast a sidelong look at Cedric, who nods. Not even my twin knew you existed. It was kept secret. He didn't know until I raced back to get to you and Tatty, Trey says. My head perks up, recognizing the same nickname I heard in my dream. Tatty. I whisper. Cedric chuckles. Yes, it was her nickname. Garrett used to call her it, and she hated it until most referred to her by it, and she got used to it, Cedric laughs. Trey smiles sadly and looks away, but we are getting off topic, so I turn back to Larkin. Tandy said you held council meetings at the brothel? That you drank blood at these meetings? I ask him when I feel a nudge through the bond. Kyson's aura slips over me, and I blink, shocked at the sensation rippling through me. Don't fight it. I am your mate. I can push your aura just as you can push and pull on mine if you let me. Kyson mind links me, and I sigh, letting him use it. Larkin suddenly grits his teeth, and the veins in his neck bulge when his body tenses. He gives me a pained look. You'll learn to do it yourself, but our bond is strengthening. I can feel it, can't you? Kyson mind links, and I look at him, nodding slightly. I can feel him with every fiber of my being, like he is a part of me, attached and running through my blood just as strongly as my blood is flowing through my veins. Maybe it is because we are no longer in a battle with each other, accepting and trusting each other. And I do trust him, trusting him not to control or fight me unless he deems something unsafe. He drops my aura, but I know why he did it, to show me how to handle it, how much to use. Kyson's finger strokes the back of my neck softly, and I fight the urge to shiver as tingles spread over me. I won't lie to you, my queen. It isn't necessary, Larkin breathes, catching his breath. Which makes me realize he has no idea it was Kyson's doing, not me. Regardless, I want to be sure, and you will accept it or accept never seeing your son again, I tell him, and he swallows nervously. Now answer the question, I tell him, forcing my aura out. Yes, annually, Larkin grits out when Kyson yanks my aura back when I use too much, and Larkin's nose starts bleeding. I gasp and look at Kyson and Cedric, who are smirking next to him. I have so many questions for him and Trey, but it will have to wait. Clearly, this is no shock to them. Help me. I don't want to kill him, I mind-link Kyson, who I feel tugging on our bond. It is a weird sensation, almost like a psychic connection or frequency, and I wonder why he had never done it before, or maybe he wants me to learn myself. Sorry, I am still learning how to use it, I tell Larkin as he wipes his nose on the back of his hand. His eyes widen, and he gapes at me before turning to Kyson. Can you do it? I would like to live, Larkin says, horrified. Kyson waves his hand at him from behind the back of my head, making me glance over at it, only for his fingers to go back to the nape of my neck. It only works if he is touching you. And only if your bond feels safe in his hands, Cedric answers the question I am thinking. You were drinking Kyson's blood? I ask, allowing Kyson to hold control of my aura. It will be safest that way. It would suck if I killed him before we got answers, plus, I really don't want anyone's blood on my hands. Yes, this is the only Lycan kingdom left, Larkin answers. My brows furrow at his words. What do you mean? I ask. The council is supposed to be unbiased. One from each kingdom but never our own. We would share blood, so we couldn't be commanded. Except for Landina royalty, Landina was like the wild card. They pulled rank even over the council. Which is why you have immunity. What about Crux? Crux is a child, an illegitimate, he has some immunity to an extent, but he never inherited the Landina traits. Only the firstborn child of each generation holds Landina reign. Your father was the firstborn and now you are. I still don't get how he isn't part of it. Think of it like, your mother and father were the Adam and Eve of Lycans, moon blessed and cursed, Cedric answers. Cursed how? Because power like that puts a target on your back. Azures and Landina hated each other for centuries, the two oldest rival kingdoms, which is why your father demanded his biggest contender's hand in marriage for the treaty between kingdoms, a treaty that created you, a moon child, Cedric explains. Not that it did much once the hunters got into the kingdoms, Trey adds. But I was caught up on what Cedric said. Moon child? I ask, and I can see Kyson listening beside me intently. Azalea. Cedric nods and pats the books. When the moon goddess created Landina and Azure, they were each other's weaknesses. Two halves of a whole. Neither could outweigh the other. But both were destined for others. Fire and ice. Opposites, yet magnificently the same. Both will burn you if you endure it too long, Cedric says. My brows pinch in the middle as his words sink in. So what does that make me? What was I destined for if not for the king beside me? And that made them exempt from having to hand their blood to the council. Well, I wasn't going to King Garrett to hand over his blood, Larkin snorts. Who was an elder from your kingdom? I ask, turning to Kyson. My father was, and sister for the Valkyrie kingdom, Kyson answers when Larkin speaks. Crux represents Landina now since he is the only one left, or so we assumed. Myself and my brother, Denali, for credence. Your mother's sister, Amelia, and your mother were Azure representatives, but Amelia died in the attack on Azure, and your mother quit after that and was later killed, Larkin explains while looking at Kyson when he mentions his brother's name. It's also why I know you're wrong about the council. We all lost our kingdoms and our families to the hunters. No way would we work with them, Larkin says, and Kyson opens a drawer in his desk. He pulls out a sandwich bag, dropping it on the desk. Tandy, he says, motioning for her to come to him. She glances at him before nervously walking over to the desk. Kyson taps the insignia in the small bag. Is this the insignia you saw? He asks when I feel his own aura slip out over her. She grips the desk, her knuckles turning white, and Damien growls and steps forward before freezing when Kyson looks at him. He nods once and turns his gaze away from his mate. Yes. Crux was wearing one, Tandy answers, but Larkin shakes his head. No, he wouldn't betray us. You saw the annual meetings. I brought you to a couple of them. No way would you catch me around anyone that wore that. Larkin says. Tandy glares at him. I know what I saw, Larkin. Crux and those strange men were always in the VIP function room, she growls. You saw them with me, he demands. Tandy shakes her head, and his brows furrow. No, after the meetings. You were at the meetings. Some of the other men you work with, the ones you introduced me to, and others. And that woman, you know, the one I said, called me a slut and spat on me, Tandy says, her eyes darkening in her anger. Ah, what's her name? She is one of Crux's mistresses, Larkin asks, and Tandy nods. Crux's mistress was part of the ceremony. Kyson growls, but Larkin shakes his head. No, of course not. Never. She just came to watch, Larkin states, but Tandy contradicts him. No, she always attends the after-party. I have seen her drink the same thing. She wore the patch on her sleeve, Tandy states. Do you know the name of the mistress? I ask Larkin. I only met her once or twice, and I couldn't stand the woman. Crux usually left the council quarters to meet her after Denali scolded her one night when she tried to overstep him. After that, she was banished from the council, but he brought her to a couple of the functions. So you have never met with the hunters or worked with them? I ask, feeling Kyson use my aura harder this time. Larkin answers immediately. Never. And I would kill anyone on the council who would, he answers, and I look at Kyson. Did you know about Alpha Brock killing Tandy's daughter? I demand, and he shakes his head. No, he didn't kill her. I know because I have seen her, Larkin says. Liar. Tandy snarls. He's not lying, Tandy. He can't, Damien says, motioning to me, and Tandy blinks back tears. Then where is she? I heard him chuck her over. I heard her scream. He chucked a rock. Crux was on the ledge beneath. He grabbed her. Do you think we would let him kill a child? I was told not to tell you, but I tried telling you. I kept telling you to run home. Larkin snaps when Tandy's hand moves with blinding speed, and she punches him. He goes flying back in his chair, clutching his face, when Damien grabs her around the waist before she can pounce on him and rips her backward. Tandy! Larkin shrieks, his nose bleeding for the second time. Where is she? "Where's my baby?" she snarls, thrashing in Damien's arms. "The orphanage." "You crazy?" He stops when Damien growls at whatever he is about to call her. I look at Kyson and gulp. "The orphanage," Tandy whispers. "Go home," she breathes like those words finally made sense, yet for rogues and for those of us from the orphanage, home was death, and Tandy clearly believed the same. Home wasn't a place. It was the feeling of setting one's tortured soul free. Home was death, and death was freedom if you grew up rogue in that place while under Mrs. Daly's care. Yes, the one he got you from. The one in Alpha Brock's pack, Larkin hisses, getting up off the floor. I gasp, wondering which child she is because we adopted them all but a handful to Lycan homes. "We'll find her. We'll find her," Damien whispers, trying to soothe his mate. "Alpha Brock has her," Tandy sobs. "No, we do. I took all the orphan children," I tell her, and her head whips to the side to look at me, and I swallow hard. "Where?" she says, her hands trembling as she tries to get Damien to loosen his hold. "Most were adopted by the other Lycans in town. We will find her. They will give her back if she is here," Damien assures her. "She was adopted? But she is alive?" Tandy asks, turning her gaze to Larkin, who nods. "A few are still here." Clarice watches over them with Abby. "Abby will take you to see if she is amongst the ones still here," I assure her. "Either way, my people would have looked after her." "We'll find her, Tandy," Kyson assures her, and she looks at Damien over her shoulder, and he nods, pressing his head against hers. "If she is alive, I'll get her back," he whispers, and she lets out a breath, squeezing her eyes shut. "So, can I sit, or are you going to punch me again?" Larkin asks, fixing the chair. Tandy's eyes fly open and she glares at him. "Kyson, I am beginning to get a headache from all this drama." But watching Azalea, I see she isn't fearful or hesitant about asking questions. In fact, she demands them with my help. I am shocked to find I can actually touch her aura. I expected it to recoil and force me out. If it did, I wouldn't have been able to touch it, let alone manipulate it. She is a Landina, and I may have some resistance to her being that I am her mate, but overall, she can make me beg at her feet once she is capable of controlling it. So I am ecstatic because it means her bond feels safe with me, that she trusts me entirely. It also means she must have forgiven me. Our bond is solid, and now it has let me in. I can feel her as if she is an extra limb. "Take Tandy to Abby," I tell Damien, and he nods before I watch him wander out with her. She is no longer needed here. Yet as I turn my gaze back to Larkin, he watches her go as if he wants to follow. He remains seated and rubs a hand down his face, looking as tired as I feel. "The missing rogue children? The ones that turned up dead?" Azalea asks, her sadness bleeding into me through the bond for them. I swear I had nothing to do with it or the council that I know of. Whatever Crux was up to with the secret meetings, I was kept out of it. "I had no idea," Larkin says. "What do you think of Crux?" Azalea asks. Larkin grits his teeth, resisting her command, and I force it over him harder, his eyes bulging from his head. "Answer me. Azalea demands. I can't stand him. He is power-hungry, and I don't like how he handles the rogue women. I don't like his side dealings. We are supposed to uphold the law, not dabble in the shady parts of it, he growls, making my brows raise. So you know he is trafficking rogues? Yes, that isn't illegal under the Lycan laws. You said the Pax decided. That doesn't mean I like what he does with them. That law will be changing, Azalea growls, her anger blistering hot as she glares at me. It is my fault. I never should have given them a choice, yet I didn't think the council would abuse it. I nod, telling her I agree. Do you believe Crux is helping the hunters? Azalea asks him. No. He is a council member, Larkin answers quickly. Is that the only reason you believe that? Because he is a council member? Azalea asks. Well, yes. He would be breaking the law we promised to protect. Is there a chance you could be wrong? She asks, changing the question slightly. Well, yeah, a chance. But he wouldn't. I don't have to like him, but he is a good council member, Larkin says. He knows nothing, I breathe out, annoyed. Whatever is going on with Crux and the hunters, Larkin isn't a part of it. That much is clear. That doesn't rule out Crux, though. So I can see my son? Larkin asks. I'm leaving that decision to my beta, I tell him. Tandy is his mate, although I don't think he is a threat to her or her son. Larkin nods and sighs, folding his arms across his chest and staring up at the ceiling. This is ridiculous, he mutters to himself. The council keeps track of the missing rogue children, right? Azalea asks, and Larkin nods, turning his attention to her again. We have those files here, I tell Azalea. And there were no patterns in any of the deaths, she continues. Larkin shrugs. None we could find. Only that it was mostly females, but the ages ranged, and sometimes entire families, Larkin says. Azalea, I can tell, is thinking hard about something that is really bothering her, and I know she is eager to speak to Cedric about whatever it was she dreamed. Can you get a diary or something of Crux's track records? Of course, we have to log everything, even the kilometers on the cars. They have GPS built into them. They track our every move, Larkin says. Wait, so Crux knows you're here? I ask him. If he looked into it, well, yes, he could track me here. My brother set it up. He didn't trust the newer council members Crux was recruiting. They handle the smaller packs, about 5 or 6 of them. Can you get Crux's records? If you have a computer. I can log in and do it now, but it will only go back since technology advanced, not back to your parents' deaths, my queen. Tech wasn't that advanced back then, he says. I don't need it to go back that far. I want to cross-reference it with the missing rogue children. What about my parents' records? Did the council keep tabs on them? No, we couldn't get close to the kingdom, only Crux. Your father had a soft spot for him. He felt bad that his father wanted nothing to do with him, Larkin says with a shrug. Did Crux know of my existence? Azalea asks Larkin. No one did, not even Crux, Cedric answers. You never left the castle or stepped out of the castle walls. Only a select few knew of you until after their deaths, Cedric adds. So there is no chance Crux knew of my existence? Azalea asks. My brows furrow at her question. Not unless someone inside told him, Cedric answers. Why? It's probably nothing, she says, though I can tell it really bothers her. Speak, I whisper, nudging her. What if the children are dead because of me? Most of the women who have been killed recently are around my age. What if the children were just caught up in it, and saw too much? Larkin sometimes said, entire families. What if the recent missing children weren't the targets but their mothers or sisters? They only had an approximate age, right? Azalea asks. But the hunters never knew of your existence. Everyone thought you were dead, Cedric says. But what if they knew I was alive when I was a kid? My mother, I mean Marissa, was on the run. She was hiding from something. It is obvious to me now with how we never stayed in one place long, and that leads me back to my dream. Your dream? Cedric answers. Yes, my mother told Marissa to run with me, to give me to my mate, Azalea says, looking at me. But I didn't know you were my mate back then. I didn't even know you existed, I tell her. Doesn't mean Queen Tatiana didn't know. Your mother sometimes saw things and got strange senses. Your father tried to say she dabbled in the dark arts and banned her from using some of her particular gifts, Cedric explains, and Trey nods behind him. Yet, gifts that would catch him out cheating. Not that she couldn't feel his infidelity, the prick, Trey growls. I smile sadly, knowing that it must have been terrible to watch his mate in agony because her husband was unfaithful. So my mother could see the future. Azalea asks Cedric. Not exactly, more like intuition. Sometimes when she touches someone or first meets them. She didn't have full visions, Trey says. I hum thoughtfully, thinking back to all the times I had met Tatiana and how she was always so welcoming. Was that why? Although that would explain when King Garrett always tried to sabotage the trials, why your mother always made me sabotage him, Cedric says. My mother sabotaged him? Azalea asks. Yet, he would try to cheat, poison the water to make those competing sick. A couple of times, she had me switch the bottle over with his own or empty the vials and refill them with herbs. Another was when he attempted to use his powers to command everyone to fail. Taddy asked me to slip him wolfsbane and water hemlock so he couldn't, so I did, he chuckles. At first, I believed it was her revenge for his infidelity. Everyone knew the king was unfaithful, and it shamed your mother. None of us were blind to it, Cedric says softly. Anyway, I thought your father hated King Kyson at first, but it turns out he was trying to win your hand back because he promised it to another, Cedric answers. I glance at Trey, who looks away. And just for the record, Cedric. When you caught Marissa on the ground floor that night, Marissa didn't betray my mother. My mother told her to run with me, that the hunters would discover me if she ran with me. She asked Marissa to run. She was never a traitor, Azalea tells him, and Cedric bows his head in shame. When I saw her in the hunter uniform you were wrong, but your kingdom was under attack. So I understand, Azalea says. But who let the hunters in if Marissa didn't let them in? Cedric asks. Someone else on the inside, Azalea answers. But the king's sister, same thing on their anniversary. I'm sorry, my queen, but you have to admit Marissa looks guilty. 2 castles she was working in, both attacked by hunters, Cedric says. But Crux also had access to both kingdoms. I know it wasn't my mother, the dream I had. Marissa and my mother almost seemed like friends. She trusted Marissa with me. I know what I saw, and Marissa tried to get my mother to run with me. Cedric's brows furrow while Trey rubs his temples. Larkin just sits quietly, listening to everything, though he seemed deep in thought as well. I can get Crux travel records. I will also question those in the brothel too, see what I can find out, Larkin says. You would go against Crux? Azalea asks him. If he is helping the hunters, then yes. But everything you have said is now making me question everything. You're right. It doesn't make sense. Too much doesn't add up, and Tandy verified the insignia patches. I'll check it out, he says, and I nod to him. Larkin leaves, followed by Damien, leaving just Trey and Cedric. They turn to Azalea, who speaks again. Wait, I want to ask you something, Azalea asks, and I stare at her. Instead, she reaches for the books Cedric placed on the desk when he entered my office. They are books about Landina and Azure history. Azalea drags one closer and Cedric retakes his seat. And so does Trey. I dreamt of the attack the other night, she starts, and I feel her grief through the bond, longing for the mother who raised her and the mother who sacrificed herself, the mother she never got to know. She pauses for a second, her brows furrowing as if she is trying to make sense of her own dreams. My mother, before she left, she pulled her hairpin out, it turned into some sword-like thing, she asks, and Cedric and Trey look at each other. Cedric leans forward and opens up one of the books and turns to a page before turning the book to show her. Azalea's fingers brush over the page. Yes, what is this? She asks, but I notice how Cedric and Trey look at me nervously. Cedric gathers his thoughts before explaining. The astral tendril pin, as it's called, isn't just any pendant. It's said to have been born from a clash of celestial forces, a literal storm brewed by the power of both Garrett and Tatiana. This pendant is essentially a product of that fierce confrontation. He traces a finger over the pendant. When Garrett attempted to overthrow the Azure Kingdom, aiming to seize the Eclipsarian, he underestimated Tatiana's power and strength. When his guard raided her kingdom, initially she was forced to hide until they seized the kingdom, her sisters were dragged out along with the mother. Tatiana watched Garrett behead her father, then lined up the sisters and mother. Then, Tatiana broke free of her guards who were trying to hide her. She was no coward, she would readily stand on the front lines with her guard if needed, and the moment she broke free of her guard, that's precisely what she did, she came out and waged war. But Garrett and Tatiana were not just enemies but forces of nature. As they fought, their powers clashed in the skies above, summoning a storm of raw, untamed magic. Pausing, Cedric's voice deepens. In the eye of this storm, amidst lightning and thunder, the astral tendril pin was forged. It's rumored that the pin is woven from the very essence of that storm, strands of astral energy solidified into a tangible form. This artifact is no mere ornament, it embodies the raw power of the storm they evoked that flattened lands outside the kingdoms. It was when the first 100-year flood, it wasn't a flood that wiped out the human villages, it was Tatiana and Garrett's anger. He leans closer, lowering his voice to a whisper. Garrett, realizing he could not defeat Tatiana by force, shifted his strategy. He presented her with the pin, not out of affection but as a strategic maneuver. He hoped it would soften her, make her reconsider her protection of the Eclipsarian. It was a token, a supposed olive branch, but laden with the expectation of surrender. The Eclipsarian, Azalea murmurs the words she was going to speak, trailing off as she becomes swept up in some memory of her dream, I assume. Straightening up, Cedric's expression turns solemn. Tatiana accepted the pendant, yes, but she did so under duress. She agreed to marry Garrett, not out of love but to save her family and kingdom from destruction. That pendant, while a symbol of their initial union, was also a constant reminder of the coercion she faced, a reminder of her sacrifice and the fierce protection she had for her kingdom. He finishes, his words hanging in the air, so you see, Azalea, this pin is much more than it appears. It's a symbol of power, sacrifice, and the spirit of your mother. Azalea falls quiet for a second, yet now, I have my own questions. So when Landina fell you didn't think to mention any of this, and where is the pendant now? I demand. You think we are just sired to Azalea? No, we are sired to protect everything about her, from her enemies, from the world. It's why their power was always rumored. Unless you witness it for yourself it's all it would ever be. We are sworn to protect the Azure and Landina history, Trey adds. And what about the pendant? I ask, slightly annoyed that they've been sitting on information. Died with Tatiana, Garrett tied its power to her, when she died so did its power, Trey answers when Azalea speaks. The ballerina is key, she whispers, and we all look at her when her gaze lifts to mine. In my dream, my mother was going to try to save my father and retrieve the Eclipsarian. She told Marissa that if she didn't return the ballerina was the key. Azalea seems thoughtful for a second. Her words hang in the air, drawing confused glances from everyone present. What do you mean, the ballerina is key? I ask, my curiosity piqued. Azalea lifts her gaze to meet mine, her expression one of sudden clarity. In my dream, my mother said if she didn't return, the ballerina was the key. She trails off for a second when I feel clarity wash over her and excite her through the bond while I remain confused still about what it is she is talking about. The jewelry box, she gasps. I waste no time. Concentrating, I mind link Damien. Bring the Landina jewelry box from our room, now, I command. Minutes later, Damien enters, carrying the small, ornate box. He sets it on the desk with care. Azalea reaches for the box, her hands trembling slightly. She lifts the lid, and the tiny silver ballerina twirls gracefully, a haunting melody filling the room. Her fingers hover over it, then gently she presses down on the ballerina and twists, and at first I think she breaks it. Suddenly the music cuts off and a soft click sounds, causing a false bottom to pop open, revealing what lies beneath. Inside, nestled within a velvet lining, is an oversized pendant. To the untrained eye, it appears to be a simple moonstone, but as Azalea lifts it to the light, a crest of vines becomes visible within its crystalline depths. Cedric gasps and Trey leans forward. The room falls silent as she slips the chain around her neck, the pendant resting against her heart. Cedric steps forward, his voice filled with awe. That Azalea is the Azure Eclipsarian. A fragment of the original sword, used to forge the Lycan bloodlines. It represents the gifts of your mother and the strength of your father. Separately, they maintain balance: truth against deceit, love against war. Together, they hold infinite power. Power? I question. Yes, which is why Tatiana kept it hidden. No one knows the strength it has when reunited with the sword. Azalea's fingers trace the vines within the talisman, her eyes wide with realization. So, this was what my father was searching for. He believed it was with my mother, and he was right. Cedric clears his throat, capturing everyone's attention in the room. He motions towards the pendant now resting against Azalea's chest. The Eclipsarian you hold is not merely an artifact, it is a relic of profound power, he begins, his voice imbued with a reverence that silences the room. Forged from the celestial storm unleashed by the moon goddess herself when creating the Lycan race, this talisman embodies the core essence of the goddess herself. He leans forward, pointing gently towards the pendant. This talisman Eclipsarian, as we've come to call it, holds within it the potential to balance the intrinsic forces of nature that govern our world. Its creation marked a pivotal moment in Lycan creation. Cedric pauses, ensuring Azalea understands the gravity of his words. When your parents' powers collided, it wasn't just a battle of two Lycans, it was a convergence of their deepest strengths. The Azure and Landina bloodlines were fierce, each capable of immense destruction and profound creation. The Eclipsarian was born from that paradox. He looks intently at Azalea, ensuring she grasps the full scope of the talisman's significance. It is said that whoever wields the Eclipsarian not only holds the power to summon the protective energies of the moon, but also the raw force of the earth itself. It can bring forth the most nurturing calm or unleash the most destructive storm, mirroring the emotional state of its bearer. Drawing a deep breath, Cedric continues, Garrett knew of its potential, which is why he so desperately sought it. He believed that with the Eclipsarian, he could dominate not just the Landina and Azure kingdoms but all kingdoms. Your mother, Tatiana, understood this. She hid it, not just to protect the talisman, but to preserve the balance it was meant to uphold. Then why didn't my mother use it to protect her kingdom? This time Trey answers. Because it scared her. I knew of it, but this is the first time I've laid eyes on it, he admits. Your mother told me that it has to merge with her for her to use it, but her power had already awoken since she was moon-blessed, therefore made it hard for her to control. Trey tells us, causing Azalea to shiver where she sits. The Eclipsarian is not simply a talisman, it's said to be crafted from a fragment of the moon itself. Its core is made of a rare mineral known as the lunaris heart, Cedric explains with a tone of awe. This core emits an enchanting azure light, akin to the tranquil glow of our moon on a clear, starlit night when the stone is awoken. He carefully leans forward and adjusts the talisman, allowing the light to catch its intricate designs. This heart is encased in a frame crafted from the same heavenly material, forming a perfect circle that symbolizes unity and the endless cycle of life. The surface of the eclipsarion is adorned with patterns made of stardust, which trace ancient symbols representing the elements and the cosmic balance they maintain, and also the azure emblem. Cedric's voice deepens, reflecting the profound power of the talisman. Upon wearing it, the eclipsarion pulses softly with the wearer's heartbeat, as if it's alive and responsive to their emotions once merged. In moments of intense feelings, such as deep rage or immense love, the luminous heart awakens, intensifying its glow and enveloping the bearer in a serene yet powerful light. He leans in closer, ensuring each word carries its full weight. This talisman holds the power to command the elements in their most fundamental form. It can communicate directly with the forces of nature and enhance the wearer's inherent abilities to levels far beyond the ordinary. Pausing, Cedric's eyes sweep across the faces before him, ensuring they grasp the significance. Its protective power can forge shields as steadfast as the night sky itself. Moreover, it serves as a conduit for the bearer's will, allowing them to unleash the element's wrath upon their adversaries. That's why my mother was trying to get to it. She was going to try to use it to shield everyone, Azalea murmurs, and Cedric peers down at the desk. Trey's eyes turn glassy as he looks away. She was selfless, she sacrificed everything for everyone, yet he couldn't even sacrifice his horse for her, Trey says bitterly. She died trying to save the very kingdom that enslaved her. Trey swallows thickly and lets those words sink in before he gets up, and so does Cedric. Azalea peers down at the pendant around her neck. Finally, Cedric concludes with a solemn nod, "This talisman, Azalea, is not just a link to your past but a key to the future. In the right hands, it can restore balance and peace, in the wrong ones, it could bring about an era of ruin. The weight of this legacy is now yours to bear, not just as a keeper but as that stone's guardian." Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.